You were on a scholarship, right, that time?
Scholarship for all 3 degrees and all full scholarships.
Wow! Especially in like Asian countries, maybe in like Thailand, like you should go and be a doctor, you should go and be an engineer. So like, what are your views on that? I feel like I'm getting a free piano lesson. Hi guys, today I'm here with Pan, who actually reached out to me about doing this podcast. So we know each other briefly because we used to go to the same high school, which was Harrow, and Pan is a pianist. I think that's probably the best way to introduce you. My name is Naproud, for those of you who don't already know me, and so today we're just gonna have a conversation about your background, I guess, and like how it's been, because I think it's very interesting to see like how people have like specialize in different things and then they have very different experiences, and you're kind of like a person who's very into what you're doing, like music and piano. So it's going to be very different from like what I experienced as a person who's very into, let's say, like the more like maths and physics or whatever side of things. So yeah, do you want to introduce yourself a bit?
Yeah, sure. My name is Pan. I'm a pianist. I'm also a piano teacher, and I'm a aspiring arts leader. I'm currently going to start my doctorate in next fall, so in a few months' time, I'll be a doctoral student in piano performance at University of Michigan.
Where are you right now, actually? Because like I see a piano in the like you're sitting with a piano.
Yeah, it's a practice room. It's one of the bigger ones. So I mean, University of Michigan, it's an all Steinway school. That means every piano here is a Steinway. So those of you who don't know Steinway pianos, they're like Rolls Royce of the pianos. Does that make sense? Yeah.
So you're currently in the US, right? Like at university, and then you just graduated, I saw, because I saw your graduation photos recently. So you graduated with a master's, right, of music?
Yeah.
Yes.
Masters of Music in Piano Performance, so yeah.
Oh, okay. And then before this, you were in NUS.
Yes.
So in Singapore, okay. Were you were also studying music in Singapore?
Yeah, that's right. So piano performance as well. So it's all the same same degree.
Wow, okay. Actually, I might as well say this. So when Pan reached out to me, like we knew each other kind of like, I guess through social media-ish, like we see each other's posts briefly or something like that. But we did go to the same high school. We didn't really talk in high school, I think. To be honest, I don't think I ever talked to you. Or if I did, I don't remember. Do you remember?
You speaking at the, what was it called? Speech day, right? That's what I remember.
I spoke on it. I did not speak on speech day. For people who are watching this and don't know, so Harrow, which is the school that we went to in Thailand, like international school, has a last day of school thing, like award ceremony, which is called speech day, and where they give speeches. But I did not give a speech on speech day.
Sorry, I don't know why. Well, I remember that you were very academically gifted is what I remember. When you got top of something.
Yes, actually this was like one of the things I was gonna bring up. I was like what were your impressions? What were our impressions of each other from like what we knew of each other before? You know, a lot of people remember that I was head girl, but I was not head girl.
So maybe that's what I thought as well.
Like I think I just saw your post on Instagram, which was just like playing piano. But then you said you went to Harrow as well, right? Recently, like you went back to visit. Yeah. And then you said right now you're also a piano teacher.
Yes. So I do a bit of private teaching. I'd say most of the time it's part-time because again, schoolwork takes up most of my time. And so, I mean, I take students here and there. I mean, some pre-college students to prepare them to get into college, or also, I mean, my youngest student right now is 5, so I'm teaching little kids.
Wow.
Yeah. And my oldest one is right, like mid 50s.
Wow. Okay, that's a
Yeah.
huge age range. Yeah. Actually, I did some stalking. So I did my homework before we did this podcast episode. So I went to stalk your YouTube channel, and then on your YouTube channel it said, Pun started playing piano at age 4.
It says that? Okay.
So
I don't know.
so I wanted to ask a bit about this. Like, how has it been as a path? Like, did you always know that this was what you wanted to do? And like, how come you decided to go into this, I guess?
That's a really good question. I guess I did not know that I wanted to do piano when I was 4. It was I mean, it's like, your typical Asian parent. They drag you to either do kumon or basketball or swimming. Mine just turned out to be piano because that was the closest to home. And yeah, we did that. I always had like a good affinity for it. Like I never felt like it was like a struggle, like I talk to some people, they say like, oh, they hate piano. I never really felt that struggle. I mean, did I completely fall in love with it right away? I don't think so. I mean, I liked it, but then I think I started to grow to like it more around like 13, 14, around that time. So that was like more song, more Sam. So I guess that's like year 8,
Oh,
year 9. That
yeah,
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 like just right before IGCSEs. So I'd say that's
yeah.
around the time where I was more like, hey, I kind of like this. Let's see if like what's ahead of me. But I still wasn't
Oh,
sure until I'd say like year 11 when I started to do competitions more seriously, and then that's
oh,
when I was
around
more sure like, okay, this
IGCSEs.
is I'll push through. Yeah. But I
Oh,
mean, I don't think this would have been possible without my parents' support, or I mean even Harrow's support, because I was there as a music scholar as well. So
yeah.
financially, and academically as well, they were more understanding that I was not maybe as gifted in math and science like you were. So I was, you can kind of skip this class and just go practice or something.
I honestly know very little about music and like practice the I guess the path of being a musician. So like, what is the day to day like?
It's okay if you ask me the same question about the science math stuff.
Yeah,
I keep
yeah,
telling people I don't know how to do sine cos tan. Like I don't know which is which. And the other day, sorry, I'm going on a sidetrack, but hopefully this is
no,
informal
no,
enough.
yeah,
I was at Barnes and Nobles, if you know Barnes and
yeah,
yeah. So
yeah, yeah,
so I was there, and then I went to the tutoring books section, and then I took up one of the Kumon books, and that was like
yes.
for 7-year-olds. I was like, damn, this is hard. As a doctorate student, I can't do simple maths. All the maths I do is 1, 2, 5, because those are the fingerings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's it.
It isn't like math and music supposed to be like intertwined or
It
something?
is.
No?
It is. And I'm gonna get into my nerdy moment. Let's just throw a bit of nerdy. If you've heard of
Okay.
Debussy, Claude Debussy, he's a French composer. He's often associated with the Impressionist movement. A lot of his pieces, they seem like, you often associate Impressionism like very wishy-washy, very no form. But ironically, his music has a very strict sense of form, although it's not very typical or conventional at the time. It's very form or very well organized, and lots of his music are based off of the Fibonacci sequence. Yeah.
Oh,
So, I
interesting.
mean, music can, or if you go back a few 200, 300 years ago, Johann Sebastian Bach, his music is a very intricate play of counterpoint, which how two independent lines, or even more than two, form a harmony in such a way that it's pleasing to the ear. It intertwines, and sometimes if you reverse it, it still works. If you flip it or make it go backwards, retrograde, or inversion, they still work. So math and music, they're often very linked together. But I'd say that's more of a compositional side than a
Um,
performance side.
oh,
But it's helpful to know as a performer.
For myself and our viewers who are not very musical, can you explain a bit more about what you mean when you said like the it works in retrograde or something like that?
I can't give you examples right away, but let's see. Like this piece, people might know this is Bach's first invention. So what I said earlier, let's do invention. Invention is a two-part counterpoint, meaning that there's two voices going on at the same time. I'm gonna do it really slowly. Do you hear that the passage shows up in both the right hand and the left hand, but they don't sound dissonant? So that's what counterpoint is. So it's organized in a way that they work together.
Okay, I
Yeah.
see.
I think that's the best way to explain it.
How do you get to this point, I guess, of of being like having gotten like a master's in music, going on to do a doctorate in music? I guess as you're actually doing stuff, it doesn't feel like that much because it's just like daily life. You play piano every day or something like that. But then if it's like someone from, you know, outside and then like suddenly looking in, it's like, how do they get to that point? So like, what was it like, I guess, the path or the process?
I do think that, you know, if you asked me this question before I got into master's, my answer would be different. If you asked me before I got into NUS, my answer would be different. So thinking about it, I think there's different challenges along the way. And of course, the challenges would be unique to each person. Maybe it could be financial, maybe it could be physical, even maybe they're not physically well. The more concise answer to this is the more I think back, the more I realize that I have God and other people to thank for. Because I do think that lots of the things that I do, yes, I do the work, but then I don't think I would be here without the support that I get. Does that make any sense? So I do
Makes
think
sense.
that, I mean, of course, there's traits that I think could help you to, you know, be more suited to this career or this music, this pathway of music. I mean, for example, this. Oh, I mean, unfortunately, money. I do think that money is, unfortunately, is is I hate to say the word necessary, but it's quite important for you to
It is
have
necessary.
access
It is necessary.
yeah,
And
to
yes,
have access
I
to
agree.
good music
Yeah.
education, which actually is something that I want to change as
Yeah.
well. Especially being in Singapore and in the States, I realize how accessible it is compared to Thailand. So that's one thing that I
Oh, I
also
mean,
want
like,
to, yeah, to make especially classical music, I think. Because I mean, classical music is so often associated with like, you know, the high life, like you go there for like social network gathering and, you know, it's only for those people. So yeah, unfortunately, money, discipline, I'd say, talent, of course, but talent is not something that, in my opinion, I think talent is also something largely something you're born with, but it's also something that you can train. But again, if you have access to better teachers since you're young, then that talent gets nurtured in a way that it blooms earlier, or it blooms in a blooms to a bigger flower. So I guess opportunities, having discipline, and having the support system, I think is important for this career path.
When you get to your like stage, like maybe it is different, but like in general, like society's perception is that like you should go, especially in like Asian countries, maybe in like Thailand, like you should go and be a doctor, you should go and be an engineer. Like those are still the most common career paths that students like try to go down, or like people often think is a good idea. Did you have like that kind of thought at any point, like concerns about whether it was gonna be like a stable career path or like life path?
Yes, definitely, especially in college years, definitely. Which is also, to add, a part of why I did the Certificate of Arts Entrepreneurship and Leadership in my master's.
Yes, I did see that, yes. I was gonna ask about that as well. So you did like a arts entrepreneurship. What is that?
I know it's a handful. It's a, well, let's see. I thought about this, and I think the best way to describe it is the study of applying entrepreneurial and business concepts to music music making in such a way that you can communicate what you want to communicate through music. Because I think it's something that is worth pondering, that music is not music without an audience. Because
Yeah.
music
Yeah.
without audience is sound. And sound
Yeah.
is cavemen clocking in the cave, right? That's sound.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not music. So music, there needs to be an audience. And classical music oftentimes maybe does not necessarily bridge that gap between the audience and the musician or the artist.
Yes.
So
Yes.
and to connect that bridge through entrepreneurial and business skill sets, I think is what arts entrepreneurship and leadership is all about.
I mean, I did kind of think about that as well while you were like explaining earlier on about like the music, more like showing me like the playing piano and whatever. I was like because to a certain extent, when we study something like very deeply, then it becomes difficult to connect with people who aren't there. And then sometimes I'm like, physics, I really want to teach it like at a deep level, but are people really that interested? So it is like, I think it is difficult to like bridge, or maybe not exactly difficult, but it's like it has to be made accessible in a certain way.
No, I agree. And I think, especially with what you're doing with your tutor academy, I think that's actually headed in the right direction as well. I think to be able to teach is such, I think being a teacher is already such an honor. It's such an honorable career. Maybe it's how I was raised, because both of my parents are lecturers. My parents were always very supportive, especially because they both did higher ed. They both graduated from the doctorate. So they always emphasized to me like the importance of education. So I think that's why they were always supportive of my career choice, and they never really questioned it.
They aren't in music, right? They teach other things?
Yeah, they're both economists.
Oh, wow. I see. Do you have any inclination towards economics, or was it always just music?
I think I probably got sick of it because I heard it every single at the dinner table every single day. Like they're talking about exchange rates or they're talking about this stock and that stock, and I just, what are you talking about? So I think I got sick of it pretty fast, especially as a 6-year-old me. I got sick of it pretty darn fast.
Wait, was the school that you were in before a Thai school, or was it in okay? How did you?
I was in.
Yeah, I've moved schools, but not as many as you. From what I've heard, I think it'll be hard to find someone who beats your record.
Yeah.
But so in primary school, I was in Rongli Assumption, if you know that.
Oh yeah.
So I was in their English program, and then there was like some stuff going on at the school, like the management, and then I moved over to Satit Kaset and for 2 years, and then I moved to Harrow. So that's how it worked.
I see. And then after Harrow, so you went to Singapore first, right, for a bachelor's?
Yeah.
So that was your first time outside of the country, outside of Thailand?
Studying, yeah.
How was it? How was the experience in Singapore?
I love this question because I have so many good things to talk about Singapore.
Oh, okay.
Shout out to my Singaporean friends. I think Singapore was exactly the perfect place for me. Coming from Thailand to go out, because first of all, the culture was not too different. Pretty much everyone had black hair. Everyone was Asian. So even though if they see you look Asian, they're gonna speak Chinese to you first. And then I have to tell them every time, I don't speak Chinese. Yeah, but everyone spoke English, so that I did not feel a language barrier at all. I love Thailand so much. I do plan to go back to Thailand in the end, but Singapore was just a different level of organized, and the work culture as well. The work culture, everyone was generally very professional, very punctual, and they're just serious about what they do in a good way. So I like that level of intensity, which actually I think helped me to become who I am today, because I needed that extra push. Even though my teacher back in Singapore was American, he was he got that Singapore hard work mindset. So I really enjoyed my time there. I think the majority of bachelors of music is about building good fundamentals, and I guess also not I guess also building a strong group of network that you have. So especially, okay, well, first fundamentals, your good old music theory, music history. I think it's important to know some of it. I don't think you need to know like as well as some of the musicologists and music historians do. Although I think it sure is very fascinating to me, as well as music theory, because all of that you can always add to your music making as a performer. I guess a good analogy for this is like if you're a chef and you can specialize in Thai cooking, would it be helpful for you to also know Chinese cooking? Because so much of Thai food is influenced by Cantonese cooking, right? Do you get it?
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
do you have to be professional Cantonese chef? No. But does knowing that help with how you cook Thai food? Sure, right?
I see.
Yeah, so
I see.
I guess that's an analogy. Maybe because it's noon and I haven't eaten lunch. Maybe that's maybe that's why that came to mind. But
That's kind of interesting because I think like studying, let's say like if I continued studying physics, it would have been kind of like the way that physics works is that you study something, then you study the same thing but deeper. Then you keep you learn a new theory which explains the theory you learned before, and then another one which explains that theory, and it just keeps going like either larger and larger, like larger scale, or smaller and smaller scale, but you don't really learn something else, and then that doesn't like add to your like skill in physics,
just to add, I think of course you deepen your craft, but
Yes.
I guess those are, I hate the word supplemental because they are supplemental, but I think it's also important, really important for you to know as a musician, because it completes your understanding of music in that sense. In music college, generally the kind of education you have is one-on-one lessons. So yes, you have classes, but your main, you call them major lessons, are one-on-one lessons in with your major professor. So I think that's where you deepen your craft. So in bachelor's, you deepen more of the foundational understanding of music. You widen your repertoire, meaning that you don't only play Chopin, you also play Liszt, you also play Ravel, you play Debussy, and maybe if it's your thing, you can learn also newer composers, like modern composers, maybe the ones who are still alive. I'm planning to learn a piece written by a Thai composer as well. So yeah, so that's widening your repertoire. But I'd argue that's something that you do throughout your musical career. So you don't really stop widening your repertoire. That's like I'm a chef, but I can cook only omelette. How about you start cooking omelette with chili? How about you start cooking omelette like sous vide omelette or something? I don't know, right? And if you know how to cook French food, you might also apply like the no heat method, whatever, of cooking omelette, like the French do it. Yeah. So, does that make sense?
Like, let's say like you wanted to, deepen your skill in making omelets, you could like become like an omelet specialist, but you could also like add in some like other other things to your omelet.
And if you feel like, okay, this is like kai jiao bu, like ba fai is my calling, right? Like, and then okay, you know what? I'm gonna specialize in kai jiao bu ba fai, and then I'm gonna make this omelet like 1,000 times, and then I'm gonna get good at it, right? So that's the same thing. Like you perform. The more you perform, the better performer you become.
Like, what are some challenges that you face when you go through this process? Do you get like, because sometimes like would you feel like something can basically kind of improve forever? So like when do you stop working on it? And music is like subjective, right? So it's not like math, like right is right, wrong is wrong, or whatever. So like how do you deal with that?
You're asking really good questions. But first of all, I think yes, music is largely subjective, but there are objective parts to music as well. And I'm quoting my my professor from Singapore from this, and in such a way that I don't know if you have. I'm sure you've had like basic music lessons. So like rhythm, in my opinion, I think bad rhythm is subjective. So let's say, right? Kids might play. That's bad rhythm. That's subjective. There's no person on the planet who would go, "Hey, that rhythm is good," right? So But at the same time, music can also be very subjective. Okay, like for example, this opening of this Chopin Etude, some people might play it in a very meditative way.
Okay.
Before it explodes, right?
I was not expecting that.
Oh my goodness. But that's the whole point. That means I did it well. But some people could be playing it very outwards expressively. That's also something that I learned in my study of music. That when you say someone like, "Can you be more expressive?" People generally tend to think that, let's say like okay, this is the baseline. Okay, I love omelette. Just to say on the topic of omelette.
Okay.
I love omelette. Yeah. Can you be more expressive? I love omelette. But then expressive does not necessarily have to be outwards, right? It could be also mean I love omelette. Right? It could also be really inwards. So I'm sorry if it sounds absurd, but I thought of omelette. It's like could be very more outwards, right? But then that's subjective, right? People might tend to think, okay, this could be really outwards before it explodes. And the reason it explodes in anguish is because it has been expressing its pain. Or it could be, I'm going to play it very meditatively, just so that it creates such a big contrast. So stuff like this is subjective, right?
Yeah.
And then you can start drawing to the score. Okay, but Chopin writes piano, so maybe he wants it more meditative, right? So that's when you start to make informed decisions about what you think you are trying to communicate. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I think, yeah, okay. Then I guess it becomes kind of like a matter of preference.
I like the word matter of engineering. It's a matter of engineering. You engineer it in such a way that you communicate what you want to communicate. Because you can't just go like, I want anguish, but then I just go, because anyone can do that. But not everyone can engineer and organize your music making in such a way that you achieve your intended effect.
I feel like I'm getting a free piano lesson. Very interesting. Not stuff which I've really thought about much. I mean, like the only piano background or the only music background I have is like grade 2 piano, actually. Grade 2 piano. And then I was practicing for my grade 4 exam, but then like this was when I was about like 12 or 13, and then I was in Australia at that time. What did you study during A-levels actually? What subjects?
So I did music, I did media studies, and then I did psychology.
Oh, I see. What is the application process like in order to go to Singapore and US?
Yeah, so I think this is something that's more unique to the arts. So we do something called auditions. So either one, you send video clips over to whichever school you were applying, or second, you would fly over to the schools. And then the auditions often are around 15-20 minutes. So you would prepare them a program, meaning your pieces, which would last around 1 hour, all from memory. And then they would go, okay, can I hear the prelude, the Bach prelude, please? Could I hear the Chopin etude. So they would go and then they would cut you here and there, and then they would make you jump here and there. So yeah, it's like that. So that's audition. In many ways, it's just like getting a role, right? Like getting a role for a movie or for a Broadway show. Say, like, okay, can you act this right on the spot? And then you'd go, yeah, I practice for this.
How did you go from Singapore to Michigan?
I think it was a very natural transition in a good way because my teacher was American, like I mentioned, in Singapore. And my piano teacher back in Thailand also was a graduate of University of Rochester, which is in New York. So I've always been trained in that line of American pianism. So it just felt very natural to make the transition over to Michigan. And especially because the offer was very good as well. Yeah.
The offer was very good. You were on a scholarship, right, that time?
Scholarship for all 3 degrees and all full scholarships.
Wow, that's wow. Wait, I should have disclosed this at the beginning of the podcast.
Yeah, but I'm very, very blessed. Individual classes, yeah.
Where are you gonna go, I guess? I guess you're also on a scholarship here in the US, so do you have to do anything for the US?
No, the US, I don't actually have to. So it's all, it's merit-based. I mean, Singapore is also merit-based, but yeah, so for the US, I don't have to. Obviously, there's so much more opportunities in the US, but I do feel like there's a sense of calling for me to go back to Thailand because I also do feel that Thailand is developing really at a really good rate right now, and I'm not sure if you've been following classical music, and probably don't quote me on this, but in right now, lots of the very successful classical pianists are Korean or Japanese or East Asian. They're successful now, but you have to remember that they were 20 years in the making. So I do think that Thailand right now is similar to what Korea was like 20 years ago. So if you let that ferment long enough, 20 years time, if there's no World War III, then I do think that Thailand could be standing in a really good position in terms of classical music, and especially in terms of audience reception. Because I think the biggest thing Thailand needs right now, in my opinion, is audience building. To build a sense that, classical music is for everyone. Right?
I see.
I don't think anyone goes to like a body slam concert and goes like, oh, this is not for me, right? So I do think that when they see Martha Argerich in Thailand, they would be, wow, this is for me. They see Lang Lang in Thailand, hey, this is for me, So that's kind of what I envision Thailand could be like. So I do feel like, I could bring back lots of the things I've seen abroad and then bring back, and then hopefully with my arts entrepreneurship and leadership could make a difference. Yeah.
I mean, like sometimes people debate about this. They debate about like when, students from Thailand go and study abroad, like should they go back to Thailand and like go back to their country? To a certain extent, I mean, I'm not in Thailand right now, but to a certain extent, I do like feel a sense of responsibility because, I mean, like just generally speaking, we had like an international school education, studied abroad. That's like a lot more privileged than a lot of Thai people. And so in that position, I do feel like I should go back and like do what I can in that like kind of a social responsibility kind of way. But I mean, sometimes people do say like, I mean, you should just like go and like live however you want. I guess it's also a matter of like how tied you feel to the country and that kind of thing. Like, okay, I mean, actually, I think without me actually like asking the questions, we did actually cover all the questions that I asked by I was gonna ask like what is your future, what are your future plans, what is important for you now, like what are you planning for the future, and then you answered all of them. Thank you everyone for listening until the end of this podcast. Thank you so much, Pun, for coming as a guest for today. And it was so interesting to hear about your background in music and like what has happened to you, I guess, since we last met, which was in high school. Even though we didn't really know each other at that time. Yes, thank you so much. And I'll see you again soon.